So we have to abide by the laws of
the norms, as long as those norms are not against Islam or our moral values. For example, if it is normal, for example, the word gay. The word gay means happy, but its norm now is different. It means something else today. Okay, so if I was to call you gay, okay, or if you were to call me gay, you linguistically, we are fine. Linguistically, we're fine. But the reality of the word now today is different. So I may be describing you incorrectly. Okay, I may be, you may not be gay, right? In the current sense of the word, right? So likewise, norms change. Sometimes these norms have to be considered. Islamically, our Prophet has taught us to be wary of the norms and the cultures of the people you may live with, right? For example, how do we know this? The Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he wanted to bring the door of the Kaaba. If you look at the Kaaba in Mecca, he wanted to bring the door down. Now it is 7 feet tall. The door is actually 7 feet above, right? So
why do people not bring it down?
We wanted to bring it down because so the people can access. So that, you know, whatever. Because when it's too high, it may be an issue of pride. Yeah. There are no, they have to put the steps. There are no steps. But when someone wants to go, the Prophet said, "Oh Aisha," to his wife, that if it wasn't for your people, he's talking about his own people, by the way, Qurayshis. Okay, but this was a figure of speech. That if it wasn't for your people, I would bring the door of the Kaaba down, right? But I won't do it because it will cause a controversy. No, I wouldn't say diplomatic necessarily. He was being he was being careful.
He was avoiding conflict.
Yeah, he was being careful with the sentiments and the feelings of the people. So he wouldn't like to, as long as it's not something obligatory in Islam. Okay, so bringing the door of the Kaaba down to earth or to the ground level is not obligatory in Islam. You understand? So he didn't do it because it would cause unnecessary controversy with the Meccans. Meccans may not be happy with it. Okay, but when it came to removing the idols, no compromise. No compromise. No compromise. These idols don't belong here. This house was built by Abraham and Ishmael, and they were pure from, they were free from idols. Therefore, idols have to be removed. Yeah, absolutely. Anywhere in the Arabian Peninsula, anywhere within the Arabian Peninsula, the Prophet gave specific commands to his companions: remove the idols from the entire peninsula, because this is sacred space, the land of hijab. This is sacred space. But were the idols removed from Iraq? Were the idols removed from Egypt? Were the idols removed from anywhere else in the Muslim lands when Muslims took these lands? No, they are still there. You can still see the remains of the Babylonians and the Assyrians and the Egyptians and beyond. So Arabian Peninsula. So coming back to the issue, the norms of a people, as long as they don't conflict with Islam directly, and if it's not something necessary in Islam, it's not an obligation in Islam, you may avoid it. You don't have to do it. Today, it is not normal in any society in the world to get married to younger women or younger girls for that matter. While in the 19th century, that was the norm throughout humanity. I'm saying this with confidence, and I am saying it. Every society in the world was marrying girls as young as 10. Every society. I cannot think of a society that waited for a woman to reach age of 20 or even 18 or 17. They would marry girls as soon as they reached puberty, because the mortality rate was very high. The lives of people were very short and limited. Even today, today, right now, it's 2021. You go to Africa, some of the countries, what is the average age? 30. In some countries it's 30, 35. It'll shock you. In this, with all our medications, with all our antibiotics and our advancement in science and technology in the field of medicine, people are still dying at very young age in this century. So what about the 19th century? And that's why the population growth was very slow. Why the population is booming today and is growing fast is because of our advancement in the field of medicine. So it was absolutely normal for all human societies, and in some cases where laws are recorded legally. If you watch my lecture, it's a long lecture I delivered in South Africa, and it is titled "The Age of Aisha: A Historical Consideration" or something like that. Okay, watch the lecture. I put all the evidence on the screen. It's a presentation. You will see I put up quotes from scholars, who study sociology, anthropology, even historians, who are saying that this was the age of consent or age of marriage in certain societies or previous societies as late as the 19th century. Actually, up to the year 1900, the state of Delaware in America, it was legal to marry a 7-year-old. This is shocking, isn't it?
Up to a century.
Yeah.
The state of Delaware. Up to which?
1900. Up to 1910, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Even in the 20th century. So these bigots you see around the world who are pointing a finger at the Prophet of Islam, Prophet Mohammed, for marrying a girl who had reached the age of puberty. Okay. They point a finger at him and say, oh, he was this, because he married a young girl, right? Okay, before you point a finger at him, let's start going backwards from our century, step by step. Let's go to the 20th century. Was this happening as the norm? Yes, it was happening as the norm. In the 19th century, was it normal? Absolutely. It was not only normal, it was legal. By law, and I gave you the references now. You saw it.
Yeah. So people have quite short memories then, with regards to historical.
Not that they have short memories. They don't have memories. They don't have memories. They don't know. They don't know. These missionaries and these extremist atheists who are doing this propaganda online, either they themselves are ignorant, or they deliberately hide this information so the people cannot know the reality. Okay, and there are some Muslims, what they do is they become apologetic and ashamed of their Prophet's history, and they start changing history. They start saying, no, she was 19, she wasn't 9.
There's no need to make up.
Why would you do that? Why would you give in to pressure from a bunch of bigots? Where are you going to stop? They're going to keep pressurizing you. They're going to keep telling you about things, and you're going to keep going back, and you're going to keep ceding territory. No, we don't do that. If information is authentic, if it's true, and there's no doubt about its authenticity, then we don't change history. We stand by it, and we explain why this was done at that time, in that period, and whether this was practiced beyond this period. And when you watch my lecture, which is about 2 hours long, anyone who watches that lecture with an open mind, not because I delivered it, it's because of the information I'm presenting. And I'm using Western academics, historians, sociologists, anthropologists who have written books on these topics. They are the ones who are telling us this was absolutely the norm. So attack someone in the 7th century is called anachronism. Using our standards today, okay? Today in Germany, what's the age of consent? I think it's 14. You may marry a girl, if I'm not mistaken, you may marry a girl at 14 with the consent of the parents, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me in the comment section. In Germany. Yeah. German age of consent is lesser than Britain.
In some countries it's lower, it could be 12.
I don't think any country in the world allows 12.
I think Spain does, from what I don't know.
No, Malta, they said Malta was some years ago, right? The point is, even today, people are arguing that we should reduce the age of consent in Britain. There are people who are arguing, and they are attacked on media for the right reasons.
Well, really, there's a point to be made about that. I would say, obviously, in Islam, we recognize that zina is wrong, which is fornication.
Yeah.
So, what is better, to be married at a young age, or to not be married at a young age, potentially commit zina, and then marry later? Obviously, it's better you get married.
We say marry at a legal age. Okay. When Muslims are in a country, we shouldn't break the law. We cannot break the law, right? So we have to be wary of the law, right? So Muslims must follow the law wherever they are, right? So marry at a legal age, right? Previously, if Muslims are alive in the 19th century or in the 18th or 16th century somewhere, let's say, right, standards were different then. Okay, today moral values have shifted poles. Okay, in particular, Western morality keeps shifting poles. Okay, in the West, morality is not a static reality. Okay, it is a forever changing. It's like the weather, the climate. It keeps changing, right? 50 years ago, homosexuality was immoral. Okay, now it is not only moral; it is a virtue.
We know
it is celebrated. It is cherished.
We know it's wrong morally. Whatever the law says.
Religiously, religions don't allow it. Islam doesn't allow it, Judaism doesn't allow it, and Christianity doesn't allow
saying
it.
Objectively, we know it's wrong, regardless of what the legislation says in this country or another country. We know it's wrong.
Okay, there is a difference between something being something immoral and something illegal, right? Okay, it's not illegal. Homosexuality is not illegal, but some people of religions, Muslims, Jews and Christians believe it's immoral. It's immoral, it's a sin. They believe it's a sin. Yeah, absolutely. They believe it's a sin, right? So the point here is that morality here is changing every day. Okay, a bunch of people get together and they change the law, right? And they change the law looking at the society, right? Nowadays, one second. Nowadays. They are considering legalizing Class B drugs. Class A is illegal for obvious reasons. Right? Okay. In some societies like Holland, okay, if you go to Netherlands, the laws on drugs are different to what we have in Britain, right? There, Class B drugs are legal. As far as I know, you can smoke cannabis and all that. Here, they are considering to legalize it. You know why? Because a lot of people are smoking it and they want to legalize it because it will bring revenue, it will be taxed, it will be sold at pharmacies. Okay, so you don't have to have drug raids, people selling bad stuff and causing people to become mad or mental or schizophrenia and all that, right? So it's a forever changing morality. In Islam, that wouldn't be the case. Our morality is static because it is revealed by God. We believe our morality comes from God. It cannot change.
So how do we avoid this sort of liberalizing tendency? Because I think it says in the Quran, doesn't it, that people will say we are reformers, but they're just trying to corrupt religion. They're trying to
they are peacemakers, but they are anything but peacemakers. They are the ones who are troublemakers, basically. Yeah, but when it comes to liberalism, because it is self-defeating.
Yeah, because we see the law, like you said, in every country, it's encouraging immorality. The law is degenerating in countries, allowing drugs, allowing.
Let's take pornography. Let's take pornography.
That was illegal.
That was illegal before, and now it is a porn star is a star. Do you get the point? A porn star, people will run to a porn star and get autographs, right? Absolutely. So this is what's happening in a society where morality keeps changing by the desires, by the changing norms. Yeah. Then what happens is you end up like this, right? So what is pornography? Let's talk about pornography. It's an individual freedom. I see the reasons why it's allowed, why it's permitted, because it's an individual freedom. Under liberalism, these people are free to indulge. Freedom of expression, freedom of sexual freedom, freedom of having sex. I mean, they want to have sex on camera. Okay, this is the idea. But what is it doing to the society? There are academic journals. This is not Adnan Rashid making this up. This is well-studied phenomenon. It's a social phenomenon where pornography has been directly linked to rape in Western societies.
What is the link?
The link is rapists in 56% of the cases. They are implicating.
They were watching pornography.
They were watching pornography, and they are implicating their behavior in their rape. When they are raping, they are actually practicing pornography while they're raping. This is the point. And who said this? Diana E. Russell. Diana E. Russell. She's a scholar from Oxford University. Actually, she has published for Oxford. I don't know if she's teaching at Oxford. Okay, thank you. There's some promotion going on there. Okay, so Diana E. Russell, she's a scholar on this specific issue. She has been writing for a very long time. She has written books on this phenomenon, that how pornography affects people socially, morally, physically, spiritually, mentally, psychologically, you name it. And there are articles in her books, long articles, how addiction is another, it's a social problem. Okay, and then what it does to children, how pornography affects children. Okay, how people who are watching pornography and they end up abusing children. I'm not saying that all people who watch pornography are child abusers. Don't get me wrong. Before you start giving secular fatwas on me online, okay, don't do that, because I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm saying there are academic studies that link rape and child abuse with pornography directly. There is a direct link. Why do we allow it? Why is this morally acceptable? Liberalism.
What is liberalism?
Liberalism is basically, to put it crudely in simple terms, individual freedom. Okay, as long as you are not harming others, okay, it is. This is why it is contradictory. Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Okay, you give individual freedom, okay, but at the same time you put a caveat. You say, as long as you can stretch your hand, but if you touch someone else's nose, you don't have the right to do that. You can stretch as far as, but where do you draw the line? How do you know? Yeah. You may be stretching the hand and you may be impacting the nose of someone else indirectly. Okay. That's where liberalism is blind. What this individual freedom, alcohol, okay, alcohol consumption, okay, intoxicants. It is an individual freedom for us to consume alcohol, God forbid, right? What is it doing to the society? It is one of the biggest killers in Britain. 80% of the violent crimes, 80% of the homicides, okay, are directly linked to alcohol consumption. And most crimes occur on weekends. And what happens on weekends? People drink. I'm not saying all people who drink are killers and murderers. So please avoid secular fatwas. Okay, there's a new term I've coined today, yeah? Secular fatwas. Okay, because a lot of these people online, they say Muslims always give fatwas. Seculars also give fatwas. Okay, what is a fatwa? Fatwa is a judgment. So when you pass a judgment on someone, it's a fatwa, right? So don't give any secular fatwas on me, claiming that I am saying all people who drink are murderers and killers. No, what I'm saying is, it has been shown statistically that most violent crimes in Britain are committed under the influence of alcohol. Or drugs, or alcohol mostly, specifically mostly. Now my question is, when we know alcohol is so bad, because for the same reason slavery wasn't banned for so many centuries. Because look, when your MPs, they love wine. Your MPs in the parliament, those who are passing bills and laws, and the House of Lords, when all of them love wine, right? When they love women outside of marriage, right? Do you think they will ever pass a law against adultery?
Well, I'd be interested to see what happened in the US when they passed the law on prohibition. They banned alcohol.
And then what happened?
They repealed the...
Why?
I'll interrupt quickly, Luca.
Oh yeah.
So
I know you said right there.
they repealed it because people started bootlicking. Alcohol was still being consumed. The same reason why they want to legalize Class B drugs here, like cannabis. They want to legalize cannabis. There are discussions on it already. It's on the table. The discussion is there, right? So the point is, these are very important social questions. Why does liberalism not work? Socially speaking, why doesn't it work? It doesn't work because it's causing major problems in our society.
Brother, I suggest we call things by their proper names. Instead of calling it liberalism, why don't don't we call it what the Quran calls it, which is corruption? It's
Yeah.
immorality. The word liberal is a euphemism. Because they're saying we want to be free. But free to do what? Like you said, free to commit immorality.
It is a nice title for a very grim reality. Yeah.
Allah said ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا. If it came from other than Allah, you found a lot of dispute, a lot of contradiction. So that's exactly what happened. All these ideologies, literally they contradict with their own concepts. The same as the same thing. It will contradict with the same thing.
It's not internally consistent.
Yes, it doesn't.
No, it will eventually self-contradict. There will be a freedom under liberalism, but that freedom itself will come back to haunt itself.
Which I think we're seeing in the West now. We're seeing the failure of liberal...
So you allow individual freedom to a porn star to have his or her freedom, but how that freedom goes around into the society and harms the society at large. I mean, to protect one individual's freedom, you are destroying possibly 100 families. In Brazil, in Canada, some guy watching porn at home at night, his wife catches him, or the porn inspires him, pornography inspires him, he goes out and he wants to practice it. He can't do it with his wife. His girlfriend is not a porn star. She's not going to give him what he's watching online. I mean, I'm sorry guys, I have to get, you know, so if someone is,
Destroy families. I'm doing family counseling.
yeah, there is, and you're choosing to stand there in front of the camera.
I'm doing family counseling.
So-
you know how many families
let me
divorced
finish.
because of this, because of watching,
Because of pornography.
because of pornography.
No, this is one issue. This is one issue. Divorce, breaking families, and why are they breaking? They're not only breaking because a wife catches the husband watching porn. They are breaking because of what porn is doing to the husband. He's not happy. He's not happy with his wife. He expects his wife, because he's watching things online, on screen, and his wife or girlfriend cannot satisfy him, so he falls into many different things. Okay, it impacts him psychologically, physically, mentally, in many, many different ways, and that causes a rift in the relationship, right? And I mean, there are so many studies on this. There are so many social studies on this. They are deliberately ignored, systematically put aside. It's a multi-billion dollars industry. Okay, it is so overwhelmingly available that it is shocking. There is no other content online that is more searched and more easily available than porn.
And it's free.
It's unbelievable.
It's free to watch. It's streamed on websites. That requires...
Forget about free.
Who's funding this? That's what I want to know. Think of all the server space this requires for people watching free pornography. It requires immense
Who is funding it, and why is it being funded?
Server space.
Yeah, why is it being funded? Why are we promoting adultery? Why are we promoting relationships that are not stable? Okay, what will pornography do? You will have
Destroys the family.
it destroys the family completely.
In Islam, we promote community, family values,
100%.
The brotherhood of believers.
That's right.
All of these things.
That's right. In Islam, we have rights of parents, we have rights of wives. We have to have, first of all, in Islam, Islam is a comprehensive set of rules. It is a system. Each brick makes the building. Each brick, right? So every single rule, every single moral value has a role to play in the grand scheme of things. Okay, what we call Islam, right? So sometimes if you take one moral value or one rule on its own, you may not be able to make sense of it. But when you look at the rule in the grand scheme of things, then it starts to make sense. For example, why is it not encouraged in Islam to have extramarital affairs? Why? Or why in Islam we have such an emphasis on lowering your gaze? Lowering your gaze basically control your eyes, because eyes are your windows to the heart. Okay, so when you look at someone with lustful eyes, that will impact your relationship with your wife, because naturally you will start feeling feeling attraction towards other people, right? Okay, and then you will start. It can go further. You can have relationships. Sorry, we have a conversation there. Sure, you can. Let me finish my point. Yeah. So, okay. Then please just listen. Okay. So Islamically speaking, family, the family bond is the most important how can I put it, structure in the society, right? Why? Because children are protected, men are protected, women are protected, and they're not lost to the society, right? So if the father is sane, if the mother is sane, the children will be sane. Same. They will grow up to be sane people. They will grow up to be moral people. They will contribute to the society. If the Islamic model is applied properly. If it's applied partially, it may work, it may not work. But if it's applied properly, okay, then it will work. You will see the fruits. If you teach your children Islamically, if you grow them, if you give them what we call tarbiyah or training to be good Muslims, education, you will see that they will be good citizens, right? They will be good citizens. They will be law-abiding citizens. They will be a good contribution to the society. But if you leave them to the society, then what's happening on the street? You don't know, and I don't know. How they live, where they end up, which crowd they're hanging around with, what they're consuming, what they are eating, and who are they meeting. We don't know.
It's the lowest common denominator.
Absolutely. So this is why family is the most important system or structure within. Sharia. The law of Islam has 5 objectives. 5 objectives. We call them maqasid al-Sharia. Number 1, Sheikh, your protection of your deen, your faith. Right? Your faith is what makes the society. You have to protect it. Right? Number 2, your honor. Your soul. Right? Your soul. Basically, you have to protect your soul from corruption. Okay? Number 3, your honor, your izzah, okay? Then your aql, and your intellect as well. Okay. So is it 5 already? Mal.
The 5th is mal.
Wealth. So this is we have what? Repeat again. Deen, nafs, aql, and
honor,
or property.
Absolutely. All of these things are directly relevant to society.
Yes.
Every single one of these 5 things has a direct impact on how societies function.
I believe Engels wrote a book on the origin of family, private property, and the state.
Yes.
So one leads to another.
Absolutely.
If you have a good family, you have a good society.
That's right.
Respect for property, respect for the state.
Absolutely. And this is what Western philosophers have been talking about for centuries. Without God, what they have done, they have divorced God from their life. God is not, and I don't blame them because of Christianity. Because Christianity was not providing solutions. Christianity was causing more and more problems because of lack of solutions. Because they had a lack of solutions, they had a lack of instructions from Christianity, they freed themselves from religion. Islam was a very unpleasant reality for them, because the Islam they had learnt about, why were Enlightenment philosophers not inclined to Islam, even though they praised Islam in their writings? They praised Islam over Christianity in their writings.
So why didn't they accept Islam?
Because the view of Islam they had was completely distorted. The books that were given to them on Islam in their languages were completely misrepresenting Islam. I'll give you examples, practical examples that we can understand. What was available in Britain in the 18th century Islam? What writings?
I think the Koran has been translated already.
Yeah, George Sale. Let's say the most famous translation of the Quran in the English language was George Sale's translation in the No, Pickthall is very old. No, Pickthall is a Muslim. George Sale was a missionary. Okay, his translation was very hostile. Very hostile. Okay, in fact, before the translation, he wrote a preliminary discourse. If you pick up Sale's translation today, you will see a preliminary discourse. In this discourse, he sets the stage for the reader. Okay, he tells the reader, this is all rubbish, this imposture, Muhammad was just an imposter. So a very extremely biased translation of the Quran. That's what people are reading. So before they get into the translation, they read Sale's hostile treatment of Islam. So they're already condition. Okay, that's one. Then histories. What histories are they reading? Simon Oakley. In 1708, Simon Oakley was an Orientalist. He wrote a book on Islam, or the history of the Saracens. It was called History of the. I mean, can you believe it? As late as the 18th century, the Muslims are being called Saracens, which is a medieval. It's a medieval term, right? So he wrote a history of the Saracens. By the way, I have this book in my library, so I'm not talking without even handling these books. Simon Oakley, amazingly, paints a very hostile, a very Christian kind of treatment of Islam, or the history of Islam in his book. It's not necessarily in favor of Islam, right? Then there are other writings. I mean, there was another book published in late 17th century, 1697. There was a book titled The Nature of Imposture, The Life of Mohammed. The Life of Mohammed. Okay? So every single biography written in the 17th and the 18th century of the Prophet was either hostile or very biased.
صحبه وتابع لهديه مغرد الحمام وسبح الأنام